Welcome back, fellow peasants, to the great lands of Calradia, full of period piece wonders such as being assaulted by fellow members of the peasantry, purchasing butter, and playing catch from the castle walls. It's been a while since we had our first bout with Bannerlord. Hjalmar had a good run, and I've dabbled in some other cultures aside from Vlandia since then, but I want a fresh playthrough with some new rules. Enter Nulk. He is unimpressive to say the least. A fresh-faced 20-year-old who was taken to the roads after he lost his family in a bandit raid on their village near Maranath. His only companion from home was a familiar face at his local tavern, Rylan the Ragged they call him, whose experience during the last war should be invaluable on his journey. They don't come from a noble house, they don't even come from a notable Battanian clan, but Nulk's father had a sheet with a bird on it, and that's a start. So, this is the story of the Bird People, and their quest from shabby armed band to glorious warlords. There's a catch, though. Nulk had a run-in with a sumpter horse as a boy, and it left him with scars of the equine kind. So, he under no circumstances will allow riders into his party. It's one thing to let those hooved monstrosities carry your burdens, but he won't trust one on the field with his life. We begin near home, in the heart of the Battanian mountain range. The start of the Bird People is that of mini-clans' early days. Unsuccessful tournament runs, escorting undermanned caravans, and hunting looters into the night. As we hit Clan Tier 1, the Vlandians and Northern Empire are chewing the Battanians to pieces as usual, so we take the party north to see what the Sturgians can offer in the way of riches for mercenary work. Our first few skirmishes went well, and we adopted a new name, one slightly more fitting for a group of sellswords traveling the world to fight for coin. The Company of the Raven. We've had a few fights with the Vlandians and crushed a few Battanian armies before I started to, feel guilty about chopping up my homeland, so we made an attempt to curry enough favor with the Battanian nobility to get a half-decent mercenary contract. If we're swinging a sword for money, let's at least play for our home team, right? Well, we ran errands and did odd jobs for them for about 2 in-game weeks, and they're only offering up 150 gold per influence point. That just won't cut it. The Khazate love paying out big money for sellswords, though, so we'll see if there's anything worth jumping on in the eastern fringes. The grind is a-goin'. We're popping bandit hideouts and helping townsfolk, and have gotten on the good side of a handful of Khazate nobles. The problem is, they're winning all of their wars, so they don't seem particularly interested in paying a lot for a dude with an axe and his 50-something followers either. I guess we're doing a few jobs for them at a lower rate so we can just build up some cash from the battle loot before we give old Battania another shot, since, this was a bit of a miss for the clan. Under the tutelage of the Battanian military, our little Nulk grew from a bright-eyed adventurer to a battle-hardened leader of men. He bought into his first business with the Dunglanis brewery, cut his teeth on the battlements of Sturgian cities, and even married a member of the prestigious Fendurngil clan of Battanian nobility. We're not falling into the trap of governing this early, though. We're sticking it out as mercenaries as long as we can because nothing is as sweet as the ringing of steel, and any semi-regular player of Bannerlord knows full well the vicious cycle that being an integral lord of the realm entails. We're also going to stick with Battania for a while in this playthrough. Most of my runs on here see the Highlands getting swallowed up by Vlandia or the Western Empire pretty early in the first few years, and I want to see if we can get our homeland to a good spot before we decide where the Company of the Raven is actually going to settle down or go try to make a name for themselves. Suppose the first step on this journey is getting through the current bout with the Northern Empire. So we're going to beat up on Lucan, and subsequently Sturgia when they declare war too, and after around in-game year or so of consistent fighting, it was capped off by a single massive fight with Vlandia over a castle on the southeastern edge of the Highlands. We obliterated a death stack made up of multiple Vlandian houses, scraping by with maybe 60 bodies left, and got a moment of peace for Battania. Nulk has a small network of shops, a child growing up in the Battanian heartland, and a band of well-trained men-at-arms with an almost acceptable turnover rate. The Company of the Raven is on the rise, but we need money, and a peaceful Battania is bad for business, so once again we look to the east. Or do we? I may have finally put myself into a situation where shop income feels useful. Typically by this point in a playthrough, I would have accepted an offer to become a vassal for one of the warring states, and your income as nobility plus the towns you own make killing time between wars pretty profitable. However, we do have 3 shops pulling in about 300 to 350 dinars each, and we're only spending a hair over 1,200 dinars for our force of 138 men, just over half of which are low-tier troops. So if we graciously donate a chunk of our low-tier troops, we should be able to hang out at Dunglanis and...
The Northern Empire declares war, so to hell with that, we're gonna loot bodies for income.
After one of, if not the gnarliest defensive battle I have ever had, we captured Lucan and the better part of his court. We offload our nobles on the nearby friendly castles, we train up our new recruits, and we hit the line again. This time capturing the Sturgian raiding parties harassing our northeast border. The Imperials behind Lucan back down after a bout near Malakova, and the Vlandians take their place in the triangle. Battania is keeping up a downright impressive tempo in this fight, and hasn't lost much ground at all. Caladog really wants us as a vassal, and it is tempting, but not yet. Once we have more of a clan, a proper fen to bring into the Battanian court, that's when we'll revisit the idea. But for now, we continue to fight and keep our momentum up. Next clan level comes with more economic opportunities and a bigger party after all. We pick back up several years into Nox Saga, in spring of 1091. After another full year of war, the Sturgians have whittled away most of our northern territories. We've lost all but one of our castles in the Western Empire, and Vlandia is throwing big-ass stacks of troops at every Battanian holding they can get their hands on. We're fully pushed back to the highlands, and losing our southern slope by Penkanak. We've made a lot of money, and we took a lot of hostile nobles prisoner, but I think we're at the end of what we can make happen with the hill people, man. When they're squaring up with Sturgians, troop quality can save you in most fights. But Vlandia or the Imperials, after the first couple years in game, there's just no way to keep up with the numbers they can throw around. The Battanians' habit for keeping castle garrisons nice and trim really means that frontier territories are never going to be adequately defended. You know who I've basically only attacked though in most of my playthroughs? The Aserai. Maybe we can become a desert warlord. At any rate, I think we're going to make our way out of Battania and head somewhere that our company can actually thrive. On the way south, we also broke Ladagwal out of the Vlandian prison, so we can kind of never go back there. We received an offer to become a vassal literally after our first day in Aserai borders passed. But before we can go meet Sultan Nukar, we gotta break the siege of Razi. We fight our way through the defenders and get construction of some defenses underway, and per usual, crush them from atop of the walls. We still have our whole clan together as we harass the Khazar, and I'm hopeful that when we take back Razi, which fell near immediately after pledging to the kingdom, that we can mooch that as our first settlement. Castles are great as supplemental income and influence, but towns are where the real money is at. We also already have some Aserai companions along with our little entourage, which will make governing down here a lot easier than if we had no loyalty bonuses available. We help secure the east against the Khazaits and pledge our sword and bloodline officially to Sultan Nukar of the Aserai tribes. We've got our hands on Razi at the tail end of the fight and had a short stint without a war to get some income flowing. Something to remember when you go into either the Khazait or the Aserai empires with hopes of being a vassal. They are always, and I mean always, fighting each other. But that means an absolute ton of gear to keep your army leveled up. A season passes before the Khazar wants more castles, and we hit the field again, this time with Hassan Fulk and its neighbors falling to our forces, meaning the Aserai homeland is entirely back under their control. This was followed by a bit of a development, when our king decided to declare war on Battania.
Well, here we are. I once thought friendship was sacred, but all sacred things are profaned in the end. Don't think I won't kill you if I need to.
My retinue hadn't returned since our less than stellar slip out amidst the war on two fronts, and this also cost us all 5 of our workshops in the Highlands. So we did what we do. We captured a nice stack of nobles to make them sue for peace, and while dealing with that, the Aserai war machine was feeling motivated and even took Lavania Castle from the Khazaits and gifted it to yours truly. The war only ran for a few more in-game days before the southern desert was finally at peace on all fronts. We got our town and castle set up with the necessary build projects and governors, recouped our losses from the last year or so of fighting, and headed back to Razi. Maybe it was time for the final iteration of our little private army, and maybe to make it a little less private. As Nalt takes his seat on his throne of Aserai nobility for the first time, he has the mind to adopt a new name for his clan. To show that their weight is fully behind the lords of the desert, the bird people don their new and final title, Banu Burdus. From Razi, they shall build themselves into the cornerstone of the Aserai Empire, and help to ensure the people of the tribes are no longer ground under the boot of the old Calradian Empire. Our house is growing quickly. We've had multiple conflicts with the Khazaits, Battanians, and Vlandians, but as of yet, no wars with the Empire factions. We spent a lot of money winning the last 2, and the current conflict shows no signs of slowing, so we gotta get our city prosperity up to keep our clan's economy alive. We're getting steady income and using our clan parties as a quick way to gather defending forces for castles, and even managed to snatch Donustica from our neighbors to the east. We lost our Vlandian salient, but the Aserai towns are all gathering prosperity in our heartland, and our empire territories are doing pretty well. Battania wants another fight, and the Vlandians are always looking to get stabbed. But before we can take our forces to the west this time, the Southern Empire decides that they want Danustica back. Lucky for us, our army is still in the area. So we get to obliterating the remnants of the once ruling houses of the land. Lord after lord is tossed into our dungeons as Tariq and his retinue take their second to last city and a handful of castles. We muster near Vostrum for the killing blow, set up our siege camp, and shatter the walls of the city before leading our warriors through the breach. The battle was chaotic, and the last few noble parties of the south had taken shelter here, so most of the defenders were military units, not just unarmored militia members with axes and pitchforks. We took some pretty good casualties, but we came out on top, and had with that officially burnt down the Southern Empire 12 years into this geopolitical shindig. We had bouts with the Vlandians on and off, but our eastern border is where most of the action happened. The Khazait's Khan is ruthless, and really doesn't like to admit defeat. Before they backed off of the last war, we had 25 of their nobles prisoner, including the Khan himself, and had snatched a pair of cities and castles each before only pulling about $1 grand in tribute out of the treaty. So this time when the council voted whether or not to start another war with our eastern neighbors, we voted hell yeah, and we started taking ground immediately. We mustered a small mobile force to back up friendly defenses and keep track of the bigger enemy contingents. On this little conquest, we took Onira, Phykeon, Akalat, Urzener Castle, Kyrenia Castle, and broke multiple sieges on Melian and Gaios castles. Overall, pretty productive campaign for Banu Bardas. We own the majority of the Imperial territories and a few of the Khazate castles under Aserai control. Banu Bardas has gone from some dudes with yard implements to a force that's basically been the key to Aserai dominance in the east. The clan has grown, my companions are off ruling in my name, the children of Banu Bardas are learning the ways of the Aserai heartland far from the war-ravaged home of their parents. At 20 years deep on this jab at global conquest, I'd say we've done pretty damn good. We take our personal retinue south, away from the fight, to a place more peaceful. For Nulk has earned his rest until the next threat pulls him to do battle in the lands of the old empire. Thanks for sticking with us till the end. This one's spent a while in the oven since narrative videos take a lot of time and energy to write, record, edit, produce music for, etc. If you enjoyed this, be sure to like, subscribe, and check out the rest of the channel, or find our music as The Horizon on Spotify, iTunes, and other major streaming platforms. Thanks for watching, and see you next time on The Horizon Initiative.